what should be a really entertaining fight at 170 pounds, we have Platinum Mike Perry making the comeback after a big win over Mickey Gall, taking on the Dirty Bird, Tim Means Matt. It's an all-action type of fight. It really is. These guys are both very proven finishers. And for Mike Perry, a little bit of a salty record in his last fight. But we're talking losses to Cowboy Cerrone, Vicente Luque by split, and Jeff Neal.
They're all very
Stuff
good.
like that's going to happen. For Tim Means, 3-2, a win over Ricky Rainey. He trains with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Right. A loss to Nico Price. A loss to Daniel Rodriguez in a fight that wasn't very close. A win over Thiago Alves, and then in his last fight, a really big win over Laureano Staropoli, and a fight that I was surprised, straight up. I thought Argentina's Staropoli was really going to push a pace, land those nice looping power shots, and win it.
It was over for the Dirty Bird.
And Tim Means fought one of those cerebral, veteran, gritty type of performances, and it was a nice throwback win for Tim Means in a fight where I counted him out, and a lot of people did as well. So we look at this one for the parts and pieces, and I mean, Matt, Tim Means, really sneaky in the clinch. Oh, nice kicks, nice straight shots, wild elbows too. For Mike Perry, I mean, the guy's a wild man. The guy's a wild man in and outside of the octagon. For better or for worse, you know what you're going to get out of him. And again, he's had some really high-profile fights in a career that it feels like it's been short, but he's already 20 fights deep into his pro fight career.
Mike Perry is very weird too, because Mike Perry, when you think about him, I always think about Mike Perry as, no, he's not the best in the division. He's not the most technical guy out there, but he is going to put on a good fight no matter who you put him up against. Like, there was a point where on the same card RDA fought Robbie Lawler, he fought Santiago Ponzinibbio on that, and he made a fairly good account of himself. Now, Ponzinibbio did start to pull away as the fight progressed, of course, because there's just, you can brawl for so long, and you can be like crazy technical for so long. So Mike Perry faded in that, but losing to Ponzinibbio by decision, there is no shame in that whatsoever. That's really one of those fights that says, okay, I lost to a guy who's at the top of the division. No shame. Let's just recollect, figure out what I did wrong, and make some improvements. Instead, he jumped right back in there against Max Griffin. And that seems to be kind of where Mike Perry's career took a bit of a turn. And he was very active up until that Ponzinibbio fight, and that was the thing that people were loving Mike Perry for. He was crazy. He had fun at the weigh-ins. He had this crazy power and very must-see kind of style. And then he fought Max Griffin. And Max Griffin is a good UFC fighter. But he's not a Vicente Luque. He's not a, Cowboy Cerrone. He's not really in that level with the other elite guys that Mike Perry's fought and lost to. And Max Griffin beat the brakes off poor Mike Perry. It wasn't close at all. Mike Perry just kept on relying on, if I throw a big looping hook, maybe I can catch him and put him out. But that never came. And the boxing of Max Griffin was able to kind of piece apart Mike Perry. And it's weird because Mike Perry, you would think throughout his career, would kind of fix some of the recklessness and, not want to throw as many big looping shots, kind of keep things more down the middle. He really hasn't, though. Mike Perry just has become more Mike Perry as he's progressed. And I know that seems like a weird thing to say, but what does Mike Perry do? He brawls, he'll throw in the occasional takedown. In the Mickey Gall fight, yes, his grappling looked fairly good. He defended a lot of takedowns, and his striking looked okay. But you have to understand, that's against Mickey Gall, who, yes, he was on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. Yes, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. But
hey, Sage Northcutt. He beat Sage Northcutt. He did,
but I think we can all agree Mickey Gall is not a UFC caliber fighter. It would be really nice if he did get some wins outside the UFC and came back, but he's not the type of guy Mike Perry should be fighting. And Mike Perry looked good, but I don't even think he looked that great. And I understand his girl was his corner woman, and there was a lot of weird circumstances around that fight, but beating Mickey Gall isn't the most overwhelming and impressive thing to me. Tim Means in the Staropoli fight, it was a fight that he probably shouldn't have won. And I love Tim Means, but Craig was starting to get to me. He's always like, hey, Tim Means, it might be over. You just have to accept it. It's like when a dog's old and your parents are trying to explain it to you. That was like Craig with Tim Means and me. He was just like, hey, it might be over. And the Dirty Bird said, no, like Dikembe Mutombo. Turn back the hands of time and actually put on a really good performance and a complete performance too. It didn't just show that he's stuck into that, I'll throw elbows and just be the Muay Thai fighter. He grappled in that fight. He showed a great gas tank. But we did see what we always know from Tim Means. The combinations on the feet when he lands are spicy. When he's landing elbows and punches, he does that kind of Sean Strickland, Nate Diaz, Max Holloway. It's weird that I started that list with Sean Strickland, but he doesn't throw everything into every punch. He's more than happy with, I'll pep you with a few shots, I'll see kind of where your defense is at, and then I'll throw power in the holes that I see. This fight to me is kind of obvious. Is Tim Means the better fighter than Mike Perry? I think in pretty much every aspect of MMA, if I'm being honest. I think he's a better striker. He's more technical. He has a good submission game. He's a fairly good wrestler himself. But Mike Perry has that God-given gift, if you will, where he can just shut you out with one punch. And Tim Means has had that happen to him. And the Nico Price fight, Means was beating him very badly. He was landing these beautiful combinations, head, body, kicks, knees, elbows. And then Nico Price lands one bomb moving backwards that breaks Tim Means' ankle and also knocks him out. And it's just, okay, so we know that Tim Means can win by being that really aggressive kind of Muay Thai guy, but we know he can lose that way. So it comes down to, do you think Mike Perry has the accuracy and the cardio to land that big bomb on Tim Means?
The fight for Tim Means that worries me, again, you bring one up, the Nico Price fight, but I also look at the fight they had against Daniel Rodriguez. And we've talked about it. Daniel Rodriguez is the biggest wild man in this division. There's a lot of wild men. Mike Perry's another one. We can go through the list of wild men.
Diego Sanchez.
I hold, yeah, that's tough. I hold Daniel Rodriguez in and among the top 5 of the wild men of the welterweight division.
Okay.
And in the Daniel Rodriguez fight against Tim Means, it was one of those ones where Rodriguez pressured him, caught him with some really good shots, and sunk in that submission. Who's to say Mike Perry can't do that? I mean, he's the type of guy that can rush in, wild hooks, he can get crazy, and he can really put together a finished product of a win and actually finish Tim Means. So you're right. It boils down to, and it's tough to oversimplify fights, but I'm going to do it as well. Mike Perry, more power, older Tim Means, 7 years older than Mike Perry is, lots of miles, because, I mean, we're talking about a guy that has over 40 pro fights at 36 years old, and he's been finished many times.
And he's not a boring fighter. Like, even those wins, Tim Means will take some damage, and that's why he is... I hope I'm not the only Tim Means fan out there. Please, can you solidify this? Is Tim Means a borderline fan favorite? Because to me, he definitely is. So I do think Tim Means, on the technical aspect, if he's able to push back Mike Perry, it'll be the worst thing for Mike Perry. If Mike Perry's able to push back Tim Means, it'll be the worst thing for him. I do think this really comes down to who can move forward on the other. If Mike Perry is moving forward on Tim Means, even if Means is landing some of those combos, if he's reacting to Mike Perry, he can get clipped by a shot. And I would say it's the same vice versa. Mike Perry has shown a phenomenal chin in the UFC. He can eat a lot of big shots. I mean, the only stoppage loss he's ever had was to Jeff Neal.
And Cowboy.
Well, a Cowboy, but that was by submission. So a little different because I don't see Tim Means going for the submission, but fair. He did get stopped in that one. Jeff Neal, if he kicks anyone in the head, is going to knock them out. So Tim Means, not the most kick-heavy guy. I don't see that happening, but I like the combos, I like the output, and I like the cardio from Tim Means. I know I pick him every fight we do these for, and I don't mean to, I promise, but I do. I see Tim Means as... This is one of those veteran wins that a veteran can go out there and get. And I know we had one against Staropoli, so maybe I'm just hot off that performance. But Tim Means is a very cerebral fighter. You can tell he is thinking as he's doing things. And for Mike Perry, if he does just throw those hooks and he's missing a lot and he's missing big every time, and if he does start to get reckless, Tim Means is going to find the holes through a lot of those shots, put him down.
Matt, I mean, this is a really tricky fight because if we have a look at the odds, a little bit of a surprise. Tim Means open as a plus 130. He's now at a plus 118. If you look at Mike Perry, open up a minus 150. The line dropped to about a minus 175. He's now at a minus 144. If we have a look at the total Tapology votes, 434 of them, 70% going Perry, 65% going knockout. I want to add this one into here, Matt, the fact that Mike Perry went on that 2-fight losing streak. You talked about it. Jeff Neal, Vicente Luque was a split decision. Then he beats Mickey Gall. If I've ever seen a Steve Nash finger roll layup, that was the fight. That
if I've
really
ever
was.
seen a bigger drop in competition, and I don't mean that, again, I'm being very negative to Mickey Gall, but you have to think, Vicente Luque can legitimately beat pretty much anyone in the top 15. I know Wonder Boy whooped that ass, but still. Jeff Neal's in the same boat too, so if you lose to those guys, it's not the end of the world. But when you only beat Mickey Gall, it's just, that's the range in which I can judge you. The whole screen.
Now we're somewhere in the middle. This kind of feels like Mike Perry should beat old Tim Means and get a win. That's what it feels like to me. But Tim Means showed me, again, in that last fight against Staropoli, that he had some staying power. He's still a very technical fighter. He hasn't necessarily lost a step per se. And I look at that fight, it wasn't that long ago. It was only 3 months ago. For Mike Perry, the Mickey Gall fight was about 4 months ago. Great win for him. His personal life has taken some weird turns that there's no sake of getting into them here, but the circumstances are not good. The other thing that we have to mention in closing, Mike Perry was supposed to be fighting Robbie Lawler. So you're going from Lawler, or at least perceived Robbie Lawler, to Tim Means. Now, I know Robbie Lawler hasn't been good lately, but you know what kind of a fight you're going to get out of Robbie Lawler. Or at least you hope to. Lately, you have to wrestle Robbie Lawler. You don't want to strike with him, you just wrestle him. So who knows what Mike Perry was doing. Also, was he going to have Cam Soda girls in his corner? Like, he was pretty much shopping out his corner services. Maybe Darren Till. So we'll see what happens there. Latore Gonzalez will most likely be there. We'll see what happens. For old Tim Means, He just still trains at that hole-in-the-wall gym in Albuquerque for fun. And it's pretty cool because he's been committed there for a very, very long time. I'm looking forward to this fight. Final thoughts. Who are you going with here?
I've said about 6 times. Tim Means is going to win this fight. It's not a lock because I refuse to do those anymore. Trust me. Some people took those to heart. I think Tim Means is the more technical guy. And whenever you have a guy who does have that veteranness on his side, and even Mike Perry, to be honest, he's been in the UFC for long enough at this point that he's not the new kid on the block. Like, his UFC debut was UFC 202. That was the second time Nate fought Conor. And people are like, oh, well, what? That was 2 years ago? No, that was like 4.5 years ago. So it's a strange fight. I think Tim Means should be able to get the win. I think it'll be very exciting for as long as it lasts. And I would not be surprised at all if this ends in stoppage for either guy.
Yeah, Matt, same thing. I mean, very volatile one, very tough one to pick. I do like the performance out of Tim Means in his last one. I'm going to go with the recency bias there. I am going with the Dirty Bird. So, Matt, we're in agreement for the underdog here. Tim Means to get the win. Really looking forward to this fight. We've got a great card, great co-main to main. Flyweight titles on the line. Will Shevchenko and Figueiredo be able to hold on? We'll find out, Matt. Really looking forward to it. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.